Welcome back, dinguses. You know, I just mastered the art of non sequiturs. So let's talk about punk music. There's been a recent surge, both online and in my experience in person, of alternative culture. And that comes with a ton of people talking about subcultures like goth and punk and how you're a poser if you do this or don't do that.
Signs that somebody is a true poser.
And frankly, I don't know much about niches like goth or emo, which I know is a surprise given my
appearance.
But I do know a lot, more than you might think, about punks. When you hear punk, the first thing that pops into your head is spiky hair, spiky clothes, spiky art, spiky language, spiking drinks, Spy Kids star Ryan Pinkston, who also featured on Punk'd. I'm kidding. If that last one popped into your head when I said punk, you've got issues. The point is, in the modern day, the most pervasive aspect of punk culture is the look, the style. I swear, ever since Hobie appeared on Across the Spider-Verse, there's been an exponential burst of interest in the punk aesthetic. I mean, if you look up the word punk on YouTube, the most popular videos are the ones that are explaining the fashion. And that's awesome. Those videos are awesome, and the people dedicating themselves to keeping this piece of punk culture alive are awesome. I know that I can't pull off a studded choker and Liberty Spike, so I'm just glad there are people out there who are doing it for me. Seriously, how on earth do they make it look so cool? This guy could wear a miniskirt and a bikini, and I bet it would look, oh, wow. Earlier I chose the words keeping this piece of punk culture alive very deliberately because that's the other thing that gets thrown around a lot in the punk scene, is this question of, is punk dead? And it's a valid question. So few punk bands are recognized in mass media nowadays, and none have reached the level of global sensations that older punk bands did back in the 70s and 90s. Even punk bands that achieve some level of stardom are put under heavy scrutiny on whether or not they're a real punk band. When the band Turnstile won the 2026 Grammy for Best Rock Album over the Deftones and Linkin Park, lots of people praised them for being one of the first punk hardcore bands to win a Grammy in a really long time. Simultaneously, a bunch of people called Turnstile out for not being real hardcore and selling out, which is a term I'll get more into later. And there's an argument to be made. I mean, they also won Best Metal Performance that year, so something doesn't add up. We could get into the semantics of what qualifies an artist as this genre or that genre, but we often lose the meaning of the music in the process, and by the end it divides fans and musicians. Either way, screw the Grammys. It's just that the punk movement seems to be so self-destructive. If a band becomes too mainstream, denounce them. If the fashion becomes too widespread, call people posers. If the ethos gains too many followers, well, it was never meant for them in the first place. It's almost like a paradox. How can a movement that is so antithetical to popularity ever make a difference? But before I delve too deep into this topic, I want to make it really clear that this is an opinion of an outside viewer. I grew up listening to a lot of punk because my dad was really into it, and I've even had the amazing opportunity to see some of those bands live. But the truth is, I'm a Gen Z kid. I didn't grow up during the 90s. The songs I heard on the radio were The Shape of You and Dance Monkey. And I've never properly been part of the punk scene. Regardless, I care immensely about the history of punk music. It seriously means so much to me, and it's genuinely shaped my life and my ideals. So I'm gonna handle this topic with as much care and effort as I can. With that said, I'm not gonna give y'all a comprehensive punk history lesson, but I wanna make sure we're on the same page of how the punk movement and ethos came to be. So buckle up, gird your loins, and if you stay to the end of the video, I'll try to do Liberty Spikes, okay? Okay. Really hoping this works out, but let's see. Okay. Punk started as a response, a direct rebuttal to the dominating corporate and somewhat elitist bands at the time, such as Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and The Who. It was also a retaliation against the overabundance of sanitized lyrics that were made to appeal to as many people as possible. In my research, I came across a Led Zeppelin lyric that reads, "Squeeze me, babe, till the juice runs down my leg." I guess maybe sanitized isn't the right word. Just weird fruit innuendos. Mash me, don't make me cross. Mash me, applesauce. They were tired of that. Punk also began as a response to the failure of the hippie movement in a way. A generation of kids watched their parents try and fail to change the world through passivity and peace, so they took it upon themselves to try a new approach. And that approach was loud, grating, and brutally honest. Early punk bands like Sex Pistols and the Buzzcocks gained a following because the kids liked their music, but gained media coverage because they were vulgar and disrespectful. I feel like everybody has seen that Sex Pistols interview with Bill Grundy. If you watch that, you know exactly what I mean. What's really interesting about the Sex Pistols is they didn't have a punk ethos as we know it today, but instead just aimed for shock value and general rebelliousness. That attitude caught on like fire on Mario's butt and spread across the world. The Ramones were one of the next biggest punk bands to emerge, but they took a decisively less brash approach to punk. Their music was still loud and distorted, but it was also noticeably simpler than other bands. If you've ever learned a Ramones song on guitar, you know exactly what I'm talking about. What's up, dinguses? This is POV Maddox here. We're gonna go through a Blitzkrieg bop, so you can get an idea of how simple these songs really are. Ready? It's 3 chords. Power chord on the A, power chord on the D, and then a power chord on the E. And you just play it fast. Now, they really do mix it up later in the song and add a single other chord down here. But you don't gotta worry about that. Anyway, this has been Guitar with Maddox. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Bye. That more basic, distortion-driven style of music became the blueprint for future punk bands, especially in the USA. Not only did the Ramones set a sonic precedent, but they also began to define the punk ethos. In an interview with Joey Ramone, he says, and I'm paraphrasing here, that punk is about non-conformity.
I don't want to conform. I don't want to be like everybody else.
It's about not trying to fit in with the masses and doing your own thing. He puts a particular emphasis on creativity. People loved the Ramones. I mean, by the sound of the interview, not as much as they loved themselves.
The last band that really created something has been the Ramones.
But they were well liked, especially among teenagers. There was something about that fast, rhythmic, aggressive music that was like a catharsis for kids. And that holds up today, in my opinion. I still love to listen to their music if I just want to bob my head, feel some energy. There's a wasp coming over here. Bastard. From this aggressive energy, a derivative genre of punk known as hardcore punk was birthed. Like a thrashing child, Fry screaming from the womb. It just took that energy and anger and ramped it up tenfold. A great example of this is the band Black Flag, which began in the late 70s. Their lyrics were a steep departure from the almost Beatles-esque tone of the Ramones lyrics, you know, who still sang about getting the girl. In contrast, there was this. Hold your hand out to me. Give me your hand. Actually, it's starting to sound like, I wanna hold your hand. I'll bite it off. Damaged. This is from the Black Flag song Damaged, off of the album of the same name, released in 1981. Their music wasn't all violence and gloom. Political messaging about the dangers of complacency, conformity, and consumerism were very prevalent in their songs. Still, the overall angry, aggressive attitude attracted, likewise, angry, aggressive people. Black Flag concerts were infamous for violence in the pits, and on many accounts, concerts ended with altercations with the police. More than that, the band members themselves regularly threw hands with the audience. Worse than the violence, hardcore bands began to attract far-right supremacists and neo-Nazi skinheads. Not only were these scum hateful and violent, they morally opposed the values of the punk movement, which was very leftist. Henry Rollins, the lead singer for Black Flag during most of the 80s, was well known for outwardly despising his audience, going as far to change his style of music to a slower, sludgier sound, in part to provoke them. After all, it's harder to thrash around to, you know you're the crazy girl, you know your pants are on fire, you're in heat. This was a rough time in punk music because what had originally been an outlet for people who felt like they didn't fit in to release some energy with a like-minded community had become a breeding ground for violence and hatred. Importantly, the teens and young adults that punk appealed to were barely able to interact with the bands they loved, because even if they were allowed into a venue, most of which were 21 plus, they were just at risk of getting beat up by the audience or the cops. Then something amazing happened. During the late 80s in the East Bay area of California, a venue called 924 Gilman Street, or Gilman, opened up. It was a venue where underground punk bands had a place to play, but more than that, it was a place where genuine community budded and grew. Gilman was different from a lot of other venues because it maintained a strict all-ages policy, which included a no-alcohol rule. Finally, kids who were tired of getting beaten up could make honest, creative music and get their message to other people. One of my favorite stories is how the audience at Gilman would poke fun at hardcore concerts by imitating the violent pits, but in like hyper slow motion. There are also instances of people bringing tricycles and doing circles in the pit. It was a fun time. It was goofy. Not only that, Gilman was practically free. They gave free admission to people who helped out around the club, which was a blessing for young teens who had like 20 cents to their name. Gilman is kind of legendary in the punk story. This community that sprouted from this one outcrop in California went on to cement what I believe is the main punk ethos. Acceptance, creativity, the ability to be who you want to be and say what you want to say. For crying out loud, there was a group called the Yeasty Girls who played there, who invented a genre called vagina core. Is that not amazing? And listen to the music. Did that sound at all like what you consider punk? No! But that didn't matter because they were doing what they wanted to do. This individualism and DIY attitude became the crux of what punk was all about. But there's nothing paradoxical about that, right? Nothing wrong with being your own person. So how did it come crumbling down? Why are there so many people who insist that punk is dead? Well, earlier I mentioned the term sellout. People pull out this term faster than Clint Eastwood in a shootout when it comes to punk music. It's a very loaded term that was originally used to condemn a band for signing to a major record label, but rather than blabbering about definitions, I thought it'd be more prudent to explain it through one of the most well-known sellout bands of all time. Green Day was originally known as Sweet Children back in the late 80s. Billy Joe Armstrong and Mike Dirnt were 15-year-old kids who loved punk and wanted to get involved in the scene. Apparently, when Green Day first asked the owner of Gilman if they could play at the venue, he was apprehensive because Green Day was too pop, which is wildly ironic considering the current state of their music. But it wouldn't be long before they were a regular show at Gilman. They had a certain gravitas that was uncommon in the scene. Billy Joe Armstrong's lyrics weren't revolutionary, but his delivery was amazing. In my opinion, he manages to sing more melodic, catchy lines without losing that punk edge. Not to mention, Mike Dirnt was not afraid to move on the bass, pushing his own limits as a musician. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Green Day was a very beloved band in the early 90s punk scene. But when a band has talent, people come and try to make money off of them. After the success of Green Day's album Kerplunk, which sold over 50,000 copies between 1991 and 93. And yes, I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but for a group of kids in the 90s, that's insane. They were approached by a plethora of major record labels. Eventually, they signed with Reprise Records. With producer Rob Gavillo, they went on to make one of the most iconic punk albums of all time, Dookie. And holy cow, it is an amazing album. Listen to it front and back, it's worth it. I'm not the only one who thinks that either. The album has gone platinum 20 times over, meaning it's sold over 20 million copies worldwide. That's almost getting to numbers I can't even count on my hands. Green Day had all they could want. Millions of fans, money, a chance to play music as a career, and more than that, they were able to share their love for punk to the rest of the world on a huge stage. But they lost something too. Gilman had a strict no major record label rule, so they were no longer allowed to play at their home venue. Not that they were wanted there anyway. The people who were once fans and friends of Green Day despised them. In their minds, from my understanding, Green Day had taken something precious to this community and used it only for their personal gain. Sellouts. Seriously, that word became like a slur in the punk community. Now this is where stuff gets hard to talk about because one, I wasn't there when it happened, so I hardly have a say in how people should feel about it. And two, it's in no way a black and white situation. I came across a Reddit thread where someone asked the question, why do some people think Green Day sold out? The thread had a ton of interesting comments. Some were in defense of Green Day, some were aggressive towards them, and many of them just simply stated the facts. One dude said, people like to hate. I recall Mike saying something along the lines of, so long as I can afford a house for my mom to live in instead of a trailer, you can call me a sellout. And although I wasn't able to find the substantiating quote, this brings up a great argument. So what if they sold out and signed to a major record label? They get to make music and live off of it, which is a dream most musicians never achieve. But it introduces a couple of problems. The biggest one, in my opinion, is the way that commercialism can negatively affect creative integrity. I'll say it plainly, I don't like the music that Green Day puts out anymore. My favorite Green Day albums go in order: Dookie, then Kerplunk, then 1039 Smoothed Out Slappy Hours. Because most of the stuff past Dookie just doesn't resonate with me as much, at least. Consistently, I dislike their music the newer that it is. There's some good songs off their new albums, it's just, if I hear Boulevard of Broken Dreams one more time, I'm gonna do some Black Flag stuff. And whether the stylistic change in their music is due to label intervention or just the progression of musicians exploring different styles over time, part of the problem with selling out is that the goal shifts from making music you want to make to making music that will get radio play, which is in direct contrast to punk ideals. It was Jesus Jones who once said, "And the problem with success is that you become what you detest." This concept isn't limited to punk bands either. Me and my girlfriend, who much to my dismay is a huge pop fan, we're discussing the new Olivia Rodrigo album. Our least favorite song off that entire album is Drop Dead. I feel like it was so much more hollow compared to the other songs and just basic. And as we were talking about it, she dropped the idea that maybe Drop Dead was made to be more of a radio hit. And yeah, Olivia Rodrigo has pushed that song into oblivion, trying to get more people to listen to it so it'll top charts. I don't think it's a coincidence that the song that felt least inspired, in my opinion, was the one that was made to do well. The one that was made to get over 400 million plays on Spotify in the last 5 months. This is the same issue with Green Day. Their most popular songs off each new album, like Good Riddance, Oh Yeah, Last Night on Earth, Still Breathing, Wake Me Up When September Ends. These songs lack the energetic chaos and charisma that once brought me to Green Day. I'm not trying to be patronizing if you like any of these songs. In the end, it's just a matter of opinion. But the truth is, it is a steep departure from the music that they used to make. Maybe it is because they really just wanted to try doing something new. But another likely possibility is that they were pressured by their labels to make songs that would be radio hits. Then again, in 2020 their contract with their major label ended, so now all their records are released independently, and I still don't like their music. This isn't all to just say that major label equals bad. It's more to highlight the effect that commercialization can have on art. Punks might have been defensive about their favorite bands signing major record label deals because they were worried the music would become a sanitized, washed-down version of what it once was. A la the entire thing punk began in protest to. Music isn't the only genre this is a problem in either. YouTube, for crying out loud, is full of people desperately trying to appease algorithm almighty, even if it means sacrificing a bit of the original vision they had for their projects. I'm not free from this either. If I ever get the chance to take on a sponsorship that I support, I'll probably take it, even though it means a minute of my video will be a poorly paced ad. Because the truth is, artists want to make a living off of their art, but that doesn't inherently mean they're all corporate shells who would do anything for an extra dollar. There's no line in the sand for when an artist is popular for their art or making art to be popular. It's up to you to decide if you trust an artist enough to maintain their creative integrity, even when they begin to profit from their work. In that same song, Jesus Jones goes on to say, "So who do you believe and who do you trust?" But this commercial discussion of what it means to be a sellout doesn't address the paradoxical part of the punk movement. Why were punks so unwilling to let their messaging hit a larger audience? Isn't the point of a social movement to have as many people join it as possible? What's the point of promoting social beliefs if you denounce any band that gets popular enough to spread them? To address that question, I want to talk about another band, Jawbreaker, a band that never made it big, but were still denounced as sellouts.
The song's called Accident Prone. If you've never heard it, you're gonna hate it.
We heard him wigging.
Jawbreaker was a band that originally formed in the late 80s by Blake Schwarzenbach and Adam Fowler. Before long, the irresistible pull of Los Angeles' loving community and great treatment of artists brought Jawbreaker to California. Their rough around the edges proto-emo sound was loved in the punk scene, including at that same venue, Gilman. Between 1990 and 1994, they released 3 studio albums, each one improving upon the last. I personally am a huge fan of Jawbreaker. They have that awesome punk energy, but intertwine it with some of the most reflective lyrics I've ever listened to, especially in their genre. Their album 24-Hour Revenge Therapy was praised for being able to deliver poetry in punk format. The lead singer even cited Kerouac as an inspiration, so much so that a sample of Kerouac reading October in the Railroad Earth made it onto the track Condition Oakland. In a scene that was criticized for its simplicity, both sonically and lyrically, Jawbreaker invited listeners to dig into their songs and uncover the messages therein. They, like Green Day, were very loved in the punk scene, headlining at venues like Gilman. They eventually attracted the attention of some pretty big names. Nirvana, who were proclaimed fans of Jawbreaker, invited Jawbreaker to open for them during a tour. As musicians, this was an amazing opportunity, but fans were not happy. A lot of them being concerned that opening for a band as big as Nirvana would lead to signing a major label deal. Soon after their tour, major label offers came pouring in. This was post Green Day's Dookie, so labels were looking for the next punk band that would blow up. Despite Schwarzenbach remaining adamant that they would never sign a major label deal, they crumpled under the pressure and signed with DGC in 1995 with $1 million deal. They spent over half a year recording their debut major label album, Dear You, and eventually it released in 1995, with huge expectations, even being advertised as the thinking man's Green Day. The album came out, and nothing. No one cared, and any strong feelings towards the album were negative ones. Jawbreaker's audience despised them. It was so bad, fans would buy tickets to Jawbreaker shows only to sit down and turn around when they played songs off of Dear You. You know what's even crazier? Jawbreaker predicted this. During the few years before Dear You, Jawbreaker had seen the contempt build for bands that had sold out. More than that, they saw a community that used to be focused on creativity and acceptance shift to one dead set on maintaining a rigid set of rules. In an ironic twist of fate, the punk scene had gone from celebrating differences to enforcing a set of ideals. Jawbreaker saw this and had criticized it in their music. The most popular song off of 24 Hour Revenge Therapy, the album before their major label album, is fully a critique of punk culture. In the verse they say, "My enemies are all too familiar. They're the ones that used to call me friend. I'm coloring outside of your guidelines. I was passing out while you were passing out your rules." Schwarzenbach basically predicted the future with how his fans turned on him after he betrayed their trust. The people who used to call him friend were now bitterly rallying against him. He also, in that song, snidely remarks on how punk had become a rigid set of rules you had to abide by. In another song, Indictment, Jawbreaker ruminates on how they're expected to make music a certain way. And when they subvert those expectations, people will laugh and call them lame. He sings, "I like to know what's so wrong with a stupid happy song." Now, I do want to mention that the original title for this song was a scathing indictment of the pop industry, so it could be interpreted that it was made to make fun of pop artists. But I understand it more as a satirical musing on how if a song wasn't hardcore enough, or a happy sing-along, for example, people rushed to call it a lame pop song. Either way, it seems like Jawbreaker knew how their audience would react to them signing a major record label deal, and did it anyway, and it flopped harder than Kevin Hart's music career. Not long after the release of Dear You, the band broke up. They weren't rich from the album, in fact it barely sold 40,000 copies, and they no longer had any diehard fans. All because they decided to sell out. Did they deserve it? Well, Dear You is a fantastic album. It's in my top 3 albums of all time, and one of the few that I have on vinyl. While I feel that Green Day's music might have suffered throughout their time signed to a major label, I can confidently say that Dear You is my favorite Jawbreaker album. And that's in part because they maintained the heart of their music. Even though their sound is cleaner, they didn't sacrifice their artistic vision, in my opinion. There's a song off Dear You, titled Million, that details some of the feelings that Schwarzenbach had towards signing to a major label. In fact, the name Million is a reference to the fact that the deal was $1 million. And I know I could talk about this song for an hour, but I want to focus on how Schwarzenbach really keys in on his desire to make music his life while maintaining the heart of it. By my interpretation of the lyrics, he didn't even want to be in a huge band that hit astronomical levels of popularity. He just wanted to make music his career. Maybe by saying they never sell out, they meant that they would uphold their artistic integrity even when signed to a major label. One cool story I found is how the producer of Dear You, Rob Cavillo, wanted to re-record Jawbreaker's most popular song, Boxcar. He claimed that it had the sound of a hit single and it would fit well on their major label record. The band refused. When asked about it, drummer Adam Fowler said, "Well, we'd done it already." In contrast, Green Day had done the opposite. Though his song Welcome to Paradise had originally been on Kerplunk, but noting its potential, they re-recorded it and put it on Dookie, to major commercial success. Not trying to jab at Green Day, but I think this is a testament to Jawbreaker's commitment to their artistic integrity. Regardless, Dear You sold poorly, and Jawbreaker never really recovered. So why, if the music was still good and true to their style, and the band didn't even get popular from their major label record, why did the punks still not accept Jawbreaker? The truth is, I can't, in good faith, give you an answer. I didn't live during that time, so I can't tell you how it must have felt when people's favorite bands sold out. But I did come up with a modern day metaphor that might help explain it. Bear with me. Recently, I've seen some discourse of how some members of the LGBTQ plus community are unhappy with the fact that gay bars and clubs of the like are being populated by not gay people. In fact, I heard about an LGBTQ plus club near where I am, where straight women have started going there to avoid getting hit on by dudes, and then dudes are now going to that club to hit on those straight women. And the actual LGBTQ plus members aren't really that happy about that. Some people don't seem bothered, saying things like the whole message of the LGBTQ plus movement is love and acceptance, so what's the problem? And while that's true, a club like that is also a safe space for people to build a community. One comment said, "Straight people have all the pubs and bars. Stay out of our spaces because we aren't welcome in your space." I feel like it was the same with the punk movement. These people who felt like outsiders, who were judged for their looks, their beliefs, and their taste in music, found solace in places like Gilman, where they could all support each other. Signing a major record label was like inviting a huge group of douchey frat dudes into a gay bar. It's not like you don't want them to understand your message, but your safe space no longer feels like your own. To me, this is why the punk movement shriveled up, because people who didn't need the solace of the punk community tried to break in anyway. And punks responded by toxically imposing a set of beliefs and standards contradicting their original message. It wasn't that punk was paradoxical so much, but rather it was a movement whose goal was never mass popularity. Its goal, in my interpretation, was to be a home. I still see tons of people carrying on punk ideals through posts, reels, music, but that scene that existed during the late 80s and early 90s has never burned as bright as it once had. And that's fine. We don't need to artificially try and recreate something that already happened. Copying other people is the antithesis of punk. So my takeaway is just be yourself. Do what you want to do. Is that the most cliche message ever? Without a doubt. But it is still shocking to see how many people fail to follow through with it, including myself. Don't replicate others in an attempt to fit in or find popularity. Just follow your passions and find other people who have those same passions. If you like knitting, get a group of pals you can knit with. If you like country music, get help. Find other people who like country music and make a community. If you like punk fashion, dress up. But just make sure it's not because you want to appease anyone else. Just be who you want to be, and don't let the opinions of others stop you. I can make a fondue with how cheesy this bit is. The same principle applies to art. Even in the face of success, don't give up on your artistic vision. I hope that if I ever get popular on YouTube, you all will trust me enough to know that I'll only ever make content that I'm passionate about. So to wrap it up with a cute bow and pretend this wasn't just a glorified rambling session, is punk dead? I really, really hope not. Because I know there's kids out there who have stuff they want to say rather aggressively. And when that happens, I hope that there's a punk community to take them in with open arms. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. And do yourself a favor. Listen to Dear You by Jawbreaker. Also, thank you guys for all the support on the last videos. It is crazy to see. You guys are awesome. All right, it's time for Liberty Spikes. Okay, I am fresh out of the shower. I'm gonna have to dry off my hair, but I'm gonna try doing Liberty Spikes. Never done this before. I've never done anything like that interesting with my hair. So we have a tutorial courtesy of Tom Chiron, and we got hairspray, a hair dryer, a comb, and give me a second, actually, wait. A single hair tie. Hopefully that'll be enough, and a wildly inconvenient tripod. Okay, so I'm gonna set you up over here. All right. Let's get going on it. Oh, and I got some music going. Ready? There we go. This is more like it. Okay, so hair's dried out. The guy did say that wavy hair makes it a little bit harder, but I also don't have a hair straightener, so I can't do that. Comb it out a bit maybe, and try to straighten it down as much as possible first. Still a little like wavy, but it's better. Okay, so he recommends doing like a middle line here, where he like goes straight down the middle, and it looks like it's like right between his eyebrows, right there, I'm thinking. So that's what I'm gonna go for first, I think. Oh, that's hot. That's hot. I wish I had one for the other side, but I don't. So I think that's a good like first one, right? Okay, so the next step, you grab this hair and then you down brush it with the comb so it gets all stiff. I do not think that this is gonna get my hair to stand up on its own. Okay, I think I need another hair tie or something. I'm gonna find one. Okay, success. We're in business. Let me close this door, that's weird. Don't look at my bathroom, freaks. Good news, found a rubber band. So that's what we're gonna use to section hair off now. Oh, the rubber bands are gonna hurt. Oh, dude, I'm adorable. I look like Cindy Lou Who is no older than 2, in case you didn't know. Oh, that's so much better. I see it. I just want this first one to be good, because if this first one's good, the other ones don't matter. All right, moment of truth. He says to spray the base first and then work on the top, so. Oh, wow. Haha, that's stiff. It's super frizzy. I don't think I did the straightness right, but let's get the top. Let's go for that part next. Get spiky, get spiky. Okay, I have to blow dry it with hot air next, I think is the... It's a little too much back. I should have pointed it forward more. Yeah, like that. I'm gonna spray the top more because it's not staying. I think that's probably about as good as it's gonna get. Yeah, we're just gonna rock with that. I'm just gonna keep going. Take the rubber band out, pulling my scalp off. All right, yeah, it's gonna end up being more like Liberty Spike Singular, I think, with the amount that I did on the first one. Gosh dang, got like a full-on horn. Look like an idiotic rhinoceros. Whew. All things considered, not too bad. I hesitate to call these spikes. They're very dull tipped. Do I even have enough hair back here? They're getting thinner and thinner as I go further back. Honestly, that one looks the most like a spike right now, but I'm a very lazy person when it comes to hair, so this is new to me. I have a massive headache. Okay. See, here's the problem though. By the point that I'm at, he has 4 done. I only have 3 done. I should have been more careful with like sectioning off. I was overzealous with the first one. Okay, on to the first back of the head one. My favorite part, actually. I mean, it's definitely the spikiest so far. It's looking stupid. Can you guys see that? What's that look like? Is it good? I'm just gonna try to do the rest of the back hair in one go. We'll do strip of 5, I guess. Okay, that one was horrendous. I can't see it, and I'm going fully off of feels. My feels are terrible. Ramshackle, to say the least, but could be worse. This is exhausting, dude. Holy cow. This spike is gonna be so much smaller than the other ones. Crap, I committed. I'm just gonna do it. This one's so much like daintier compared to the other ones. Oh my word. Gotta pull this stupid rubber band out too. I honestly don't know if the combing is doing anything. You know what really hurts? It's that I'm trying so hard and it's still so terrible. Like, maybe I wouldn't mind if it turned out badly, you know, if it was like, took me 20 minutes and I just, you know, threw it together. Oh, this is gonna take me like an hour and a half. Yeah, I need some water. Be right back. But the microphone's attached to me, so you gotta listen to me glug. Here, I'll make it nice and loud for you. Oh my, oh my. It looks pretty good. All right, next spike. That one was by far the best one. Wow. Wait, can you see that? Look at that one. Actually, I hope it looks good from the back too. I know I've basically just said that it could be worse over and over again, but it really could be. Like, the placement is pretty on. Dude, how did the Statue of Liberty do this? Like, that's crazy. No help. Pre-hairspray. It's been 45 minutes already. And we're getting close to like, probably about halfway. Yeah, there you go. That'll be great. Oh, scheiße, it's got my ear. I'm just happy it's getting close to being done. You know what you do? I mean, like, ooh. No, sir, that's no bueno. Oh, this one's also, no, it's not as small as the other one. I think this is better. They could probably do to be sticking out a bit more, but like, I feel like that's the least of my worries right now. You know, I'm really glad I got the scentless hairspray. I almost didn't. I almost got some citrusy smelling one, and I'm just realizing how big of a mistake that would have been. I've coated my hand thoroughly in hairspray. I'm resisting the urge to lick my fingers off right now. I'm kidding. I forgot to comb this one. Uh-oh. Now it's gonna look bad. Dude, almost dropped the freaking hairdryer again. I'm actually starting to like this part. I only have 2 spikes on this side. How did that happen? It's because I did this dainty one in the front. Maybe I should have done another dainty one. Let me grab the rest of the loose hair back here. I think it's just enough to make a dainty little spike on the back. So I keep saying dainty. What's another word for that? I think petite, just small, keep it simple. Okay, before I do like the final show, I'm gonna fix up the other ones. So montage of just that, I guess. Okay, well, in all honesty, I don't think it's gonna get much better than this. Until next time, of course. Wash the hands. Well, there's like the wrong number of them. They're going in weird directions. They're uneven. They're not really that spiky, but I did it myself. That's what punk is all about. It's the DIY. It's the DUI attitude. All right, final spin for you guys. I have to look at that one back. I mean, I really don't like this part here. All right. Well, hope that was fun for you guys. I'm so tired. My arms are gonna be sore tomorrow. Bye. Tell Rutabaga that guitar is way cooler than bass.